Awesome. There we go. Well, today we've got a super exciting episode with Geeta, right? The person that is transforming business culture by putting women in an environment where they can flourish, they have the inclusion, and they're at the heart of the strategy, right? Not just compliance, right? So I'm interested in your mind. I'm interested about what you've done so far to grow the empire that you've had, but more importantly, the ROI that you give to businesses now and how you apply that in a strategic way. But I guess first of all, give everyone an introduction of who you are.
My name is Geeta Sidhu-Robb. I live in London. I'm based here. An introduction. I grew up in Malawi in sub-Saharan Africa. I came out at the age of 15, not on a boat. We would be fascinated to know that. And I was a lawyer because I'm Indian, so duh. And I hated being a lawyer immensely. And so I was like, I'll do anything but. And then I had a child who got very sick, so I had to give up my job because you couldn't go to work and have a sick child. And then I set up my own business, and I had two more kids. And like the majority of women after divorce, 2 years after a divorce, women's economic status reduces by nearly 76%. I was very lucky that my status was removed instantly because my husband emptied all our bank accounts. So got off to a head start. So it was like, great, here we are, homeless, poor, and three children under the age of 7.
Wow.
So I became an entrepreneur, like a lot of women, because that was an easier way to be at home with the kids, still make money. And I changed the landscape of health and wellness in the United Kingdom. I commercialized juice fasts and delivery. I was the first person to do that in 2007. I started home delivery of the 5 meals a day thing. I started that in 2008. Thank you. I didn't realize in those days you had to really stake your ground and be the first. It's just what we were doing. 2012, we put cold pressed juices, raw cold pressed juices in the supermarkets, and we went head to head with Coca-Cola and Innocent, which was great fun. Nothing like having the head execs of Coke in your house and you have to take off your shoes because they can't come in, and I'm Asian, so that was funny. And then I started coaching during that period because we had this terrifying American woman who came in and wanted to do something, and I didn't agree with her, and she was like, do you know who I am? And I'm like, no, actually no, don't know who you are. But I said, this is a really stupid idea. Don't do this, do this. So she came back, she stormed out and came back about 3 days later and said, can I pay you to tell me that? And I'm like, what? She's like, call me stupid. And I'm like, I didn't call you stupid. I kind of said that was a stupid idea. And I was like, how much are you going to pay me? Because I had no idea. She wanted me to talk to her for an hour. She paid me 250 quid to talk to her for an hour.
Wow.
I was like, sold.
Yeah.
We were poor. We were
Yeah.
really poor,
100%.
I had 3 kids. I was on my own. I was poor. So I didn't realize that. And then she sent me her friends and everything, and I didn't realize that, but that was coaching. And I didn't realize, but she was really famous. So she then sent me the most insane, famous people. So our clients were Gwyneth Paltrow, Simon Cowell, Stella McCartney, 2 of the Spice Girls, the royal family.
Wow. Okay.
And so I'd fly to LA once a month and kind of do coaching and run back because the kids were little. So yeah, it was really just this trajectory that, and then now I still, lockdown hurt a lot of the business, but the coaching stayed, and then it just became all around. I then started to coach women CEOs, and then it became all around. I worked with 21,000 women in Nosh.
Impressive.
Okay, there were probably about 3,000 men in there, but really it was women.
Always round up, right?
Yeah, I was like, and then it became, what would be fun to do. And so then it became anything to do with women. And, we had some phenomenal success stories around helping women to build their businesses. But I should let you get another word in edgeways.
No, no, it's super good because it allows me to understand because a lot of people that do, grow to, large success or build an empire, such to say, right? Everyone starts at rock bottom, right? And I guess when you started going into the coaching, when you told the lady, can you just tell me to shut up and just argue with me, essentially, right? At that moment, did you think, okay, I'm going to do this for women, I'm going to, train 21,000 women, or When did that happen?
I don't think you clock that. You know, people really, I grew up very wealthy. And then when I left, when my children and I left my ex-husband, we were so poor. We were homeless and a friend gave us somewhere to sleep. We were living on £14 a day.
Wow.
And people don't understand poverty clearly enough. They always think people who are poor don't work hard enough or, you know, stupid shit like that. And it's not true. You know, if only hard work made you money, we would have a entire world full of millionaires. It's just not true that that's how you do it. You know, you do need a little bit of luck. You do need, you know, a little bit of nepotism. Well, I don't know if it's nepotism necessarily because I didn't know anybody, but you need to know people, and you need to also, I think it's, to me, it's mindset. Pure and simple. It's the mindset of deciding where you want to go and how you want to get there. And I was very bloody minded and very driven and very ambitious. And I was determined.
And when did that vision come to life?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, because you said, when did I start thinking of it as being women? I never thought of it as being women, but I was a woman, and therefore I knew what I had to do, and therefore I could see other women struggling with the same thing. And so I found it easy to help them because I knew they were struggling. And the men were there, and that was fine, but I really cared because it was so hard for me that women had it easier than I had it. And so that was where that came from. I didn't wake up and think, let me change the world of women. I just was like one woman at a time coming in going, the health system is letting me down. My doctor doesn't listen to me. My husband doesn't listen to me. I'm poor. I'm this. I'm that. I've got to be thin. Why? You know, my life sucks. And I was just like, yeah, so does mine. How can I help you? You know, so it came from there. So the vision as a vision, I would say maybe 2.5, 3 years ago. You know, and I just was like one day, I don't know if you've ever done that, but like my life has been a series of hell no. And I put a flag in the ground and gone, never again. And I can see those moments, you know, and one day about 3 years ago with women, it was a hell no. And that's when this became right. So now when people say, what do you do? I'm like, I just work with women.
It's a really interesting outlook to have on it, because the analogy of putting, you know, a flag in the ground that can serve as, you know, so many other meanings, you know, entering the different chapter, the next chapter, and then you put the last flag in 3 years ago, and then the growth started happening. And I guess during that growth, for people that, you know, are wanting to put that last flag down and just start going towards what they actually want to do, what are some non-negotiables that you personally had throughout that process that actually got you there?
I mean, things that make me laugh. So one non-negotiable was that I didn't want to be treated badly because of my color. And my first non-negotiable was that I lost my passport when I was 18, and I had a dual French-English law degree I was doing, and I was in France. And I walked into the British Embassy going, oh, I've lost my handbag. Could I just have another passport? And this man was like, people like you come in here thinking I'm going to give you a passport when you clearly aren't even British. Look at you. Where do you think you came from? Get out. And like threw me out the embassy. And I was like, whoa, what just happened?
What year was this?
It was a long time ago. It was in the 90s.
Yeah, because he would definitely get fired nowadays.
Yeah, one hopes, right? Because by now I'd be filming the bugger. And I was like, this is never going to happen to me again. And I didn't know anyone in the country. I came over, I went to school here. I didn't know I didn't have networks. I didn't know what a network was. And 10 years later, I was actually in Moscow, and I was holding it was almost 10 years to the day. But you don't think that, right? At the time, I was holding my son, and I had my handbag stolen. And I'm like, look, I'm a British citizen. This is my child. He's British as well. And I'm like, and I was like, I'm me. I'm on the wall. That's me. And she had a photo of me on the wall. And it was so funny. My conversation degenerated. And I'm like, that's me. I have a British, you know who I am. Can I please have some else? And it was the funniest thing. She was like, yeah. And this time, the ambassador took me to sleep in their house. The ambassador's wife made dinner for my son. So whole different.
Wow.
So, you know, hell knows really work. So that was my first one. My second one was when I had built this business with my ex-husband, and when I walked out, he said, listen, if you don't come back, I'm going to make your life impossible. So he emptied all the bank accounts to me, and my parents were like, you know, we don't believe in this. You should go back to your husband. I was like, this is not safe. I'm not doing that. And I remember him doing everything, and we had nothing. And he came in one day And it was the afternoon, and I was sitting there thinking, I don't know how to eat tomorrow. I have 14 pounds. I have 14 pounds. And he said, if you just come back, I'd make this all go away. And I was like,
Wow.
hell no. And I remember looking at him thinking, God bless you for being such a... Can we say that? I'm swearing. And I thought, bless you, because if you had been 10% nicer, I would have given in. But because I was cornered, I was like, no. You do not get to bully me to do this. So that was another hell no. I've never thought of it like this really, but yeah. And then the last one about 4 years ago, was that Crispin Odey was a guy there at Odey Asset Management, and he had been allegedly, well, not allegedly, he got done for rape. He'd been sexually
Wow.
abusing
Okay.
women in his business for over 18 years. And every time they went in front of a judge, the judge would go, Crispin, stop raping them. They don't like it. See you at the club tonight. Give her 100 grand. And it was just awful. And they had been trying to get this guy into court. And I read the court transcript, once a lawyer, always a lawyer. And the woman said that when she was on the top floor and this guy was getting in a lift to go down, they would ring the women on the ground floor and go, he's on his way, get behind a locked door. And I was like, oh, hell no. No. Like, these women are here because they have no choice. Otherwise, they would have left, And I was like, someone should do something about that. I did not want it to be me, but it ended up being me. But I was like, someone should, So that was another kind of, yeah. So I don't know if that's helpful, but that's kind of what happened to me.
It makes sense, and I've noticed a very common trend that, like I said earlier, people get pulled back, and it's almost like, I guess, let me ask you for a better question. If it wasn't for the hard times, if it wasn't for having only 14 pounds to your name, do you think you'd be where you are now?
I'd like to think it's possible to succeed without so much pain. I mean, look at anybody that came out of Eton, right? So they seem to manage it. So why can't we? I don't think I remember somebody asking me if I liked this version of me more. And I was like, I wasn't an asshole before, right? So I don't know that we need to go through that much pain in order to succeed. But I think it's just life. I think it just happens. And we just react in our own ways to what happened. I think if I had had no kids, I would have maybe accepted a lot less. I was unwilling to accept less because I had children. So I don't know. There are many, many people that we have met in our lives, that everyone listening has met, that has never had to suffer a day in their life. But
Yep, there is definitely people.
right? So you're like, yeah, I can track your journey from the nursery through to the,
Definitely,
the leader of that
definitely.
company.
There is definitely those people, and I wanna understand the way that you actually approach the business, right? So I guess right now, you're at the top of the food chain within the business, right? It is your baby. What does like your day to day look like? What strategies do you use to keep your time organized, right? Like, what's the most important things to focus on right now?
Yeah, I never, those things have kind of all more or less been sorted in my life. So so what happens
Okay.
in my calendar is I teach a thing to my clients called the balance sheet technique. And I'm like, what I do is also what I teach, which is that make a list of the non-negotiables in your life. In my life, that is going to be working out. It's going to be eating really healthy. It's going to be whatever, it's going to be. And it'll be your 5, 6, 7 things that you'll do in the day. Like speaking to a new client or signing up a new client because, or whatever it is. Make a list of that and then map your personal stuff across your calendar first. And then think of each 7 days as a balance sheet, which means that every day is a profit and loss account. So if one day goes really badly, you've still
Okay.
got another day to go into. So don't beat yourself up because this day was useless and it was a loss, because you can go to a profit the next day. So once you start to think of it like that, it's easier. And then I balance out my 7 days. Like, I really like to drink, and I'm the world's biggest lightweight. Like, I can't drink for shit, but I want to have a drink. So I will check what is happening in my calendar according to when I'm going to go out. And I'll be like, okay, so I'll have had a 10-hour day here. I am going out that evening because I need to decompress. And then the next day, I will make sure I start a little bit later, because so I have a lot of clients on the West Coast. So I tend to work to 8, 9 o'clock at night. So I make sure I don't start before 10 o'clock in the morning. So if I have a day where I'm starting at 8:30, you best believe I'm going to have some time, you know? So I build that in.
Definitely.
So when I strategically build all those things in, I don't have to worry about being productive. I don't have to worry about, I don't know, I've never taken a productivity course in my bloody life because I'm insanely productive because I have kids. Like, what are you going to do? You're just going to get through all that shit as fast as you can to do the next thing that you're going to do, you know? So, I balance my week so I don't hate my life. Because I think when you hate your life and you feel sorry for yourself, you're just not a nice person and you don't get anything done and you hate what you're doing. So I really love what I'm doing. And you know, there were times obviously when I've done stuff that I have not loved what I was doing, but I found something to like in what I was doing always, because I couldn't go to work and hate it. It would drive me mad. And
Yeah, they say if you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life. Simple as that, right?
right.
And it's
So
at the end of the day, it's all about purpose and
yeah.
managing emotions that come along the way. And I quite like that strategy. I haven't heard of that, to be honest. You say stop loss, profit loss. Did you call
It's
it?
called the balance sheet technique. Well, it's because I invented it. It's called the balance sheet because I work with overachieving women who have too much to do all day, every day, and put themselves
Okay.
last. So it's called the balance sheet technique. And then you 7 days. Each 7 days is a balance sheet, and then every day is treated as
And
profit.
profits or loss, profit or loss.
Yeah.
I
So
think that's really interesting. That's it's a great way to break down the week. I might give that a go. See
try
how.
it. Let me
Yeah,
know
I
how you
might see
do.
if I can get seven profits in a row for my first week. Let's see. Let's see.
And
I'm
you know, the
gonna
joy is that if you get a loss, it's okay because tomorrow can be a profit.
super interesting. That's super interesting. And obviously this is something that you do for the clients that you serve with. I guess for the people watching, give a bit of background. I guess like what specific sector your business is actually in, and like what the outcome and the deliverables that you actually have for people are.
You mean in terms of W-Corp?
Yes.
Yes. So I set up W-Corp last year because I looked at the way women are working, and women really struggle to take their biology to work, which means that you will not have a period, you will not have perimenopause, you will not carry a baby, and you are most unlikely to look after your elderly parents. It's just the way that we live that is different for men versus women. Now, this is not to attribute good or bad. Love men. Never will you hear me saying men bashing on anything that I've ever done. I spend my life in the media. I don't believe in it, right? But it's different. It's Japanese and German. Now, if you can have washrooms in a business and there's urinals in one washroom and toilets in another washroom, and they are under the same roof, but they function beautifully together, why can't you have biologically compatible workspaces? So what we do is say, here, never mind DEI, never mind all that stuff, which I don't love because it makes me feel like a victim. What if I just help you work out how to create an infrastructure in your business so women and men can work successfully, allowing both of us to be men and women, and you then get the benefit of the diversity of thought, the ROI of hiring, alternate thought processes, and all this stuff. And so W Corp was set up as a result of that. And we talk to companies and we interview them and we give them these 55 questions. And if they pass over 80%, we give them a W Corp stamp and we put them on a global map. So we are across 6 continents. We've been alive for about a year and a half as a business. We're across 6
Impressive.
continents in that year and a half. And it is so that women don't have to fight when they're going into an organization. The kite mark will tell you this organization respects you as a woman, respects how you're going to live, and thinks your productivity is more important than who you are as a gender.
Perfectly said. Absolutely. Yeah. Did a great job of that. And like with the industry that you're in, obviously you're across 6 continents. Like, do you still struggle with competition? Like, is there people that do something similar to you, or are you kind of the flagship?
I mean, kinda in that there's people that talk about diversity and this and that. So nobody does the workplace. So we force you to certify. It's not a nice thing to have or a pledge or a cute little puppy type thing. I'm like, just do the work, show you've done the work. We'll shout about the fact that you've done the work. So we have like a South African company that we certified, which is phenomenal. And they make women into farmers. They train them how to be farmers. So farmers aren't just men. And so they're a phenomenal business. And what we've done is gone in and created an infrastructure in the business that women, South African women, can go through that business and succeed, you know. So it doesn't matter where you are, it's just a good thing to have and do. So we struggle a little bit with big businesses because they'll be like, oh, we spent so much money on DEI, and then their gender pay gap is 43%.
Wow,
Yeah, like
43%.
brutally bad. brutally bad. But they're
Wow.
like, they have a DEI committee and they have a, conversation. It's like, yay. And you're like, and what is it doing? Nothing, right? Because they'll have all the women at the bottom where it's admin, and then at the top it'll only be men. And the
Wow.
women can never get past the top. So they start to leave. So you have the broken pipeline around the 40s when women just leave work because they're tired of fighting.
Wow.
So
That is, yeah, that 43% is ridiculous, to be honest.
I promise you it's ridiculous, but you
Yeah,
would not
that's
believe.
crazy. And I guess how have you seen when you approach these types of businesses, with what you guys do, right? How have you seen their responses to it? And like, has
They
it
don't
changed
care.
at all in the year and a half?
They don't care at all. They just hate it. They're not interested in you. So like I cold called 74 men because I was like, hi, this is what we do. By the second call, I was like, I didn't care about what I just like, tell me, please mansplain to me what I should do in order to grow this business. Because I was like, that's the simplest way to kind of get, and they were very happy to mansplain. But of those 74 businesses, only 4 converted. I mean, that's a pretty shitty conversion rate. They don't care because they're making money and they see no need to pay attention, so they don't. So
Wow.
long live young men being in charge of things because your attitude is so different.
And I guess as the leader that you are, the machine that can solve anything, because you clearly have done a lot. How do you get around that? Like, what's the tactics that you're moving to make sure that, because it's an important thing, right? People need to be aware of what you guys do. How do you make them aware?
Like this, talking to you, I spend a lot of time on, I do 2 to 3 podcasts a week, every
Okay,
week.
cool.
So we built a brand kind of arena about it, but then what I also did is I extended the brand. So we're building a certification now for investment into women-run businesses to
Okay, cool.
explain that women-run businesses are different to the way men run businesses, so that they should be certified. And so we're certifying, we certified our first company last week, investment
Cool.
organization that, oh, I forgot to invoice them, but yes, certified.
Let's hope they don't watch this.
Exactly. And then we're going to create a certification for allyship. So, we'll just come at it from every angle we can so that after a while you find it really hard to ignore it.
And I guess, like, what misunderstandings do you think these companies have? Like, why, like, are they not as open to it as they should be, really? Do you think
It's
they
a
don't understand
combination.
numbers, or what
I
do you
think
think it is?
I think it's a combination of things. That's a really good question. And I don't know 100%, but like the things that people have said in our one-to-one calls that are private and not recorded. I've had one man say, Geeta, why do I care? I'm above the glass ceiling. If I want somebody, I pull them out. And if I don't need them anymore, I push them back down. It just makes
Damn.
no difference. I had another guy say to me, I made 25 million last year. Why do I care? And I was like, I don't know. Like if being a good person is utterly irrelevant, then why would you
It's,
give a
it's,
shit?
it's all it's all ego. Wow.
Yeah. And they're really blunt about it. One to one, they're really, really open about it, which is very nice, right? Because at least you get to understand why. And then you have people that just, they'll say stupid shit like, I don't have the budget for that. And you're like, it's 2 grand and you've just turned over 35 million. So they don't understand the level of benefits you get when you have diversity of thought. The ROI on having people in a room who actually think differently is unfathomable. Like the majority of money in the world is going into the hands of women. Morgan Stanley did a big piece on this. So in the UK this year, 63% of all the money is sitting in the hands of women. And over the next 3 more years, around 75% of the wealth in the world will be in the hands of women through death, marriage, creation of money, entrepreneurship, whatever. So you're going to get to a stage where you
That
cannot
makes
ignore it.
sense. That quite makes sense, to be fair. I trust my girlfriend with my money more than I trust me with my money. It makes sense.
Right? So how can you then continue to ignore them? I mean, it will just be impossible after a while.
Essentially, so yeah, I see the vision. Essentially, more and more it will keep on becoming a more talked about thing, and essentially, because you guys have put yourself in a trajectory where when it does become a thing and they search, you guys already exist, right? And you're already over, all these continents, then it will fall into place. So it's mainly just an eyeballs thing,
I think so.
really. An
But
eyeball, I would say eyeballs and education.
and just having the same conversation again and again and trying to keep it interesting because you'll feel a bit like Sisyphus pushing boulder up the hill and then watching it come back down. And then, so you have to kind of just, I mean, last year, Fathom AI told me I was in the top 7% of all Fathom users in the world.
Wow, really?
And that is just crap, right? That is not. I'm just like, I don't think I obviously worked too hard last year, so
Clearly. Top 7% is impressive. Honestly, that's super impressive.
I
I
just
just every time because I do consultancy, I just give everyone my Fathom referral code and I just collect the 3 points. It's incredible.
I like that.
So
That's
that should be
good.
done. So that
Yeah,
should be
no, no,
done.
I'm
Never,
gonna.
never paid for the premium because why should I?
No, why should you? This is how you should make money
Exactly.
along the way.
Exactly. I love it. The vision is good because I can understand the sophistication, where people just aren't as awake yet, right? It will come with time and society progresses really slowly when it comes to change. As with everything. So I guess tell me what's end goal? Like what's the vision and when you complete it, like what impact does that
I
leave?
just wanted, I have spent a lot of time in my life in rooms with presidents and prime ministers and people that run things, and I'm always the only brown person in the room, and I'm almost always the only woman in the room, often, you know. And I want the next time I'm in a room like that to have 1 million women in a community behind me, so that when I walk into that room, you're paying so much bloody attention, because actually
Okay.
half the world is being represented, therefore you can't ignore us. Because when there's war, women get shot, women and children get hurt the first. When there's poverty, women and children are always the poorest. When there's a lack of education, women and children don't get educated. When there's no food, women and children don't get fed. You know? So I just that's what I want to change. I want to be the person that stands there and goes, no, 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 not again.
Hell no.
Put a flag in the ground, right?
Comes back to it.
Like
Comes
don't
back to it.
It's like Monopoly. Don't pass go. Don't collect your 200. Stop right now and pay
Yeah.
attention, because you have to. That's what I would love to see happen.
It makes sense. And I guess like within that workplace or PE like industries that you're trying to go into, like what do you think is that barrier that we need to get rid of for that to happen? Like if
The
you had to
people
name
running
it.
them.
The people running them. So essentially what you're saying is the current like leaders, C-suite guys of the company need to either change as a person, right, become a different person, or actually be more educated and understand. Am I understanding that correctly?
In a way, I think that let me give that a little bit more depth. Capitalism should not be the pursuit of money at the expense of every section of humanity that you can possibly find. It should not be. There is a version of capitalism that enables us to get richer, make more money, get wealthier without having to stand on people's dead bodies in order to get there. And that's what I think is really important. That's what I hope that we can create and to see, so that the people that are running these organizations are so far removed from normal life that normal life has absolutely no meaning for them. They don't understand it. I mean, wasn't it Zuckerberg has a guy that trains him in how to act normal before they film?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So what do you care about my life or someone else's life? You don't. What do you care about the poor woman that lives in Sheffield with 3 kids and has to have coats in our house because it's too cold? You don't care. So I think that these people need to make way for hopefully a generation, but then even then, I don't know if the next generation isn't the same people. So maybe that was why COVID was really great, because it kind of broke a lot of systems up and made them different.
Disrupted the world in many ways.
And I'm a big fan of disruption. I actually bought the URL
Oh yeah.
Disrupt Her.
Yeah, there's a saying that I actually have it tattooed on me down here. It's destruction is a form of creation.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, completely. I agree entirely.
And that's what it is. And I've got one final question for you before we hop off. And let's say in a hypothetical situation, okay, everything you've ever posted online disappears. Okay, let's say every single conversation you've either had with a family, friend, anyone you've ever met, they forget every advice you've ever given to them, all gone, right? What is one bit of advice that you could give to them, but also the rest of the world that could benefit them?
Success comes down to one single habit. The ability to pivot is your moniker for the level of success you're going to be. So the faster you can pivot on anything that happens to you, the more successful you will be. The least fast you can pivot, the least successful. There's no grammar in that. The less successful you're going to be, right? So what am I saying? Change is inevitable. Suffering is optional. So what I am exceptionally good at is pivoting. I can be put anywhere, anyhow, anything, and I can have the scenario of nothing, but my ability to pivot in any scenario is my most successful attribute.
Impressive. Well, you've achieved some great things, and yeah, thanks for being on, and I wish you the best going forward.
Thank you so much for having me, and I wish you the best.
Thank you. Thank you.